thorough and well-educated and person of naturalists as I've ever met. I learned about iNaturalist a year and a half ago when I took the OCVN course, and I had no idea all it could do and how wonderful it was. So, Mary, why don't you just take over and introduce yourself and take off on your presentation, and I will mute myself and
well, I'm going to share my screen here to get started. That's not it. Oh, let's not do this again. There we go. Okay, my apologies in advance if there are any technical difficulties. I have never done anything like this before in my life. The whole Zoom thing has been basically learned it just this week. So I want to give greetings and a welcome to this first segment of the workshop iNaturalist for Ohio State Parks. I'm not affiliated with iNaturalist, but I am an avid user and I've gained a lot of personal knowledge from using the platform, and I'm really excited about all that it has to offer. I want to share with you that I have no formal training in the natural sciences. My educational background is actually in public policy research and administration, exciting stuff there. But I am a very active volunteer naturalist in both Ohio and South Carolina. After the slide presentation, I'll take a few quick, brief questions, but with the anticipation that you'll come back with us in a couple of days for the interactive question and answer segment. So please note that if you are an OCVN, that this workshop will count toward your continuing education requirement. So let's get started here. As I said, this is iNaturalist for Ohio State Parks. And if you're not aware, you may say, what in the heck is iNaturalist? Well, it's a lot of different things. But mainly it's an online social network of people sharing biodiversity information to help each other learn about nature. You can sort of think of it as Facebook for nature nerds. iNaturalist is also a crowdsourced, and just to share with you briefly what crowdsourcing is, that's where you create something using information from a lot of different people via the internet. So it's a crowdsourced species identification system and an organism occurrence recording tool. You can use it to record your observations, to get help with identifications, to collaborate with others to collect this kind of information for a common purpose, or to access the observational data collected by other iNaturalist users. And the primary goal of iNaturalist is actually to get people to interact with nature. It may seem a bit technical and scientific, but that's the primary goal. It's to help people connect to nature, getting people to feel that the non-human world is of personal significance and worth protecting. Recording information about nature in a social context is a tremendous way to understand the depth and breadth of the life on Earth. Just think about how all the different social media platforms are so popular. This is just growing on that popularity to share the love of Earth. A secondary goal of iNaturalist is to promote scientifically valuable biodiversity data collected from these personal encounters. iNaturalist achieves both of these goals simultaneously because they actually reinforce the other. iNaturalist users add identifications to each other's observations in order to confirm or improve the community identification. Observations are classified as casual, needs ID, or research grade based on the quality of the data provided in the community identification process. Now, the community identification process, just to touch on that, is another way that crowdsourcing is used. So the community of iNaturalist users are helping to build the database by helping us make identifications. Research grade observations are incorporated into other databases, such as the Global Biodiversity Information Facility, but anyone with an account can export data from iNaturalist onto a spreadsheet. And you can do it from either the Explore page or any individual project page. And all you have to do is click download in the lower right bottom of the filter box. So all this talk about observations, and you're wondering, well, what is an observation anyway? An observation records an encounter with an individual organism at a particular time and place. So that critter or plant out in nature, you take a picture of it, you upload it, and you have an observation. But this also includes encounters with signs of an organism, such as tracks or nests or things that have died. And when you make an observation, you'll record. Now I've got a pretty little graphic here. You're going to record who you are, what you saw, when you saw it, where you saw it, and what you saw. Now let's go through these things individually. You know, who you are, that's going to be uploaded automatically when you make the observation, and this is information that's there from when you create your account. What you saw. When you upload an observation, you have the opportunity to make an ID. And you might choose a broad ID of butterflies, or you may know that you're looking at a monarch butterfly, so you put that ID in, or there's even the option of leaving it blank and letting the community help you make your ID. Now, I'm going to talk about when you saw it and where you saw it together, because if you're using a smartphone, and I believe most digital cameras now, they record the data for location, date, time, and all of that. And that information is automatically uploaded into the iNaturalist platform when you make your observation. That said, you can put up observations using old photos and whatnot that may not have that data connected to it. And you can manually enter date, time, location, and all of that. That's something that we can discuss at a later time, though. And then lastly, evidence of what you saw. So that's going to be photos. You also have the opportunity in iNaturalist of uploading sounds. Birders will often use this to put up bird call and whatnot. Now, note that your observations don't need to include all these parts, but in order to become research grade, they do. And it's only research grade observations that can then be used for scientific needs. Now remember, you should make separate observations for each organism you encounter. So say you have one photo that has a butterfly on a flower in front of a tree. If you upload that photo and you want to ID the butterfly, in the notes section you should note that this ID is for the butterfly. But you can also upload that photo 2 more times and make an ID on the flower and an ID on the tree as well. But do note that it's a separate observation for each separate organism. Now, if you've observed something that's not wild, like a garden flower or a lion at the zoo, there's a place where you can mark it captive or cultivated. And that's what a casual observation is. And that helps prevent it from becoming research quality. Now, not being one to want to reinvent the wheel, and these people have done it better than I have anyway, I'd like to show you a couple of videos that'll show you how to make observations using the mobile apps and your computer. This first video is for those of you who have an iPhone.
Okay, so you've installed the iNaturalist app and created an account. Time to get outside and record your first observation. Here's how to do it. Any living thing, like a plant, animal, or fungus, can be an observation on iNaturalist. Once you find something you'd like to record, just tap Observe and take a photo. You can review your picture, then hit Next if it looks good. To identify it, what did you see? If you have an internet connection, iNaturalist will suggest 10 visually similar species and often a common ancestor. You can choose one of those or search for species names. On this observation detail screen, you can add more photos of the same organism or write a note. The date, time, and location have been automatically added. You can also change the geoprivacy of the observation, mark whether it's captive or cultivated, or add it to a project. Once you're finished, just hit share, and your observation will be uploaded for everyone to see and identify. That's it. Keep on exploring and sharing.
Now, as you can see, that was pretty simple. He shows you taking the photo and uploading it automatically into the observation. You can also take a series of photos of an object, or an organism, I should say, and upload them later at your convenience rather than in the field. And that's usually how I do it. I find that to be more convenient. And then you can, when you are at home, you can take the time to add your multiple photos and whatnot if you have it as well. So this is use the app if you have an Android phone. And I'm actually going to stop the video at one point because it goes on to cover a bunch of stuff that we don't need to talk about tonight. But here we go.
All right, so once you've opened up the iNaturalist app, it will pop up with your observations, the species, and the identifications. Once scientists have identified it and there's been enough of them to conclude that that is like something like the western wallflower or something like that, then it will go under identification. So to add an observation, we're going to go down to this green circle in the lower right-hand corner, and it'll have a plus, and so we'll add. It'll come up with 3 options: take a photo, choose an image, or no photo. We're going to choose an image. So we will upload images of like a flower or a plant or animal life we see. So I'm going to go on ahead and do this flower. That'll be the first image. And then if you want to upload another one, which is recommended, take photos of the leaves and, you know, the plant and things like that, just to help them ID it. I'll add another one. It'll come up with take photo or choose image. We'll choose another image. Same flower, just different angle. So if I wanted to make that one the first instead, I would just click on that one and it would make it the first one. So what did you see? It'll come up with suggestions upon clicking on it. So it says we're not confident enough to make a recommendation, but here are our top 10 suggestions. You'll scroll through that, and I think this is the western wallflower. So we'll click on it. We'll just scroll through the photos, see some of them. Yep, that looks like my flower. We'll click select. So notes, we can write where we found this. In the park, that way it'll help others to be able to find it as well. So we found this, this was found in the picnic area. And so then we will go down and it'll automatically put in the date and the time that you found this. So I found this May 11th, 2019 at 10:19 a.m. We'll click location. We'll click get current location. So now this is not correct, so we'll edit location notes. So it's 15312 Eureka Way. We'll click OK. Location visibility. You can do open, obscured, or private. We want it to be open so everyone can see it. Is it captivated or cultivated? We're not sure of that. Otherwise, we would add what we know about it. So you would do something like that. We'll add it to projects. And so you can see that the plants and animals of Shasta State Historic Park comes up, and we'll just click on it. And we'll go on ahead and just click the little check box and it will upload it. And so once that's been done, scientists can begin to identify what you found, and everyone else.
We're going to stop right there because she goes on into some detail talking about their park. So she notes in here that she's uploading several photos, and she makes an important point where she mentions that she's getting photos from different angles. So you know, you might take 2 or 3 or 4 photos of an organism, and it's a good idea to have something in there for size reference, whether it be a coin or your foot or your finger or something. And you'll want multiple angles of the organism too. Think about if you're trying to identify a mushroom and you just take a picture of the top of the cap. It could be any number of different types of mushrooms, but you really can't make a affirmative ID on it unless you have the underneath of it as well. So that's just something to think about. Stems on flowers, you know, where you can count the leaves, how they're structured on the stem, you know, things that'll help make ID on sure. Video, load observations on your computer. So let's play this.
This video is a quick introduction to our web uploader, which allows you to upload, combine, and batch edit photos and sounds, then submit them to iNaturalist. I've got a few photos and a sound I'm going to use as examples, so let's get started. Now from anywhere on iNaturalist, I can mouse over my screen name in the upper right-hand corner and click Add under Observations. From here, I can either drag and drop the photos I want to upload or choose them from a menu. I'll go with the former option for this video. Once I've dragged in my photos, iNaturalist will upload each one as a card in the main workspace right here. Keep in mind, the photos have not been added as observations in iNaturalist yet. They won't happen until you hit the green Submit button in the upper right-hand corner. Now that the observation cards are all in my workspace, I can start editing them. I can edit a single observation by clicking on it and entering the information either directly on the card or in this area on the left-hand side. You'll see that geoprivacy, captive cultivated, tags, projects, and observation fields are all on the left-hand side as well. To add an identification, I can click in the species name field and iNaturalist will suggest visually similar species. Or I can begin typing in a common or scientific name and choose from the drop-down menu. To add or edit location information, I'll click on the location space here. You'll see that the location editor pops up and I can type the place into the search bar at the top. Note that this will not search iNaturalist curated places. It's simply a Google Maps name search to get you to the right area. And then from here, I can pick a point and drag these control dots in the circle to show the accuracy level of my location. Once I'm done here, I'll click Save to get back to my workspace. There's no sound recognition software on iNat, so you'll have to type in the species name. Now these two photos are of the same organism, so I'd like to combine them into one observation. I can either select them both and click Combine up at the top, or drag one card onto the other and voila, it's been merged into one. I'd already added location and species name in the photo's metadata, which iNaturalist has read, so that's all taken care of. Finally, let's say I want to batch edit my cards. I can select certain ones with my mouse, or hit select all up at the top. Once I've selected the observations I'd like to edit, I can use the forms on the left-hand side to do so. Now that I've edited everything I want to here, I just have to hit Submit and they'll be added to the iNaturalist database. I hope this video will help you streamline your iNaturalist workflow. Happy iNetting.
Now, in that video, he also showed you how to manually put in a location. Again, though, unlike when you upload an observation from your phone, your digital photos on your computer will generally have that information and will automatically upload it for you. So, exploring iNaturalist. It's a great tool for self-education. That has been my greatest love of it, and it has helped me grow greatly as a naturalist. And there's much to be discovered exploring the site on the web. I'll touch briefly on the observation and identify pages, but if you explore the site, you'll find that there are many excellent tutorials, and there's a forum group on the site for further exploration and education. So, video about using the observations page.
Start by visiting iNaturalist.org and click Observations from the top menu. When you first visit the Observations page, all observations of all species from around the world are displayed. The count summarizes the total number. The individual observations appear as gray markers and as a list with the most recently posted observations listed first. At the top of the page are filters that we will use to narrow down this set of observations in a few moments. But first, let's explain how the rest of the observations page is structured. The page summarizes observations matching your filters as 4 separate counts. The count of the observations themselves, the count of the species that these observations represent, the count of the people who identified the observations, and the count of the people who made the observations. Each of these counts activates a tab which provides more information about what's driving them. Let's start with the Observations tab, which is active by default. These raw observations can be viewed as a map, as a grid of photos, or as a list. As you zoom and pan around the map in the Observations tab, you will see dense concentrations of observations in places where the iNaturalist community is most active. If you zoom in far enough, the gray markers will be replaced with markers with different colors and shapes, reflecting the taxonomic category, quality, and geoprivacy of the observation described in the map legend. You'll also notice the places of interest and redo search in map buttons, which can be used to add location filters. We'll describe how these work when we explain filters shortly. Activating the Species tab summarizes the observations matching your filters as the distinct set of species that they represent. The most frequently observed species are displayed first. Worldwide, house sparrow is the most frequently observed species on iNaturalist. You can click through to learn more about them. The Identifiers tab summarizes the observations matching your filters by the people who've helped identify them. These identifiers are ranked by the number of identifications they've added. So far, Kevin Hinsa and Greg Lasley have each added around 100,000 identifications for the iNaturalist community. Similarly, the Observers tab summarizes observations by the people who observed them. Observers are ranked by both the number of observations and the number of species they represent. Fanatic has observed over 37,000 observations, representing nearly 5,000 distinct species. You can click on people to learn more about them, message them, or follow them. Connecting with top identifiers and observers is a great way to learn more about observations that interest you. Now let's talk about filters. The 2 main ways to filter observations are by species and by location. To add a species filter, just type in and select the name you want. This will filter the observations accordingly, and the counts will update to reflect this restricted set of observations. Worldwide, over 11,000 distinct species of butterflies and moths have been observed, and painted lady is the most frequently observed species. To add a location filter, start typing a street address and select one of the return choices. Notice that the world has been replaced by bounding box, and an orange bounding box is displayed around the street address. You can also generate a bounding box manually from the position of the map by clicking the Redo Search in Map button mentioned earlier. Try clicking the Find My Current Location button to position the map on your current location, and then click Redo Search in Map to see if there are any observations of butterflies and moths near you. Now, try entering California into the location filter. This will filter not by a square bounding box, but rather by the state of California. This is because the location matched an iNaturalist place. You can also use the Places of Interest button mentioned earlier to view and select nearby places. These places are separated into a standard set maintained by iNaturalist and a community curated set added by the iNaturalist community. In the Other Filters menu, there are many more filters to choose from. For example, you can search by date or filter only research grade or threatened observations. When you choose one of these filters, a badge will display on the Filters menu to remind you that you've applied a filter. Note that iNaturalist filters only verifiable observations by default. This excludes observations of pets and others that aren't candidates to become research grade. Uncheck this if you want to include these casual observations. There's also a handy button here to reset all filters and a tool to download observations in a variety of formats. Thanks for watching. We hope exploring these observations will inspire you to get outside and share your own observations. We're looking forward to seeing what you find.
Okay. Now, I apologize in advance for the cheesiness of this video, but this one's for how to use the identify page. And I'm going to get up while this is playing and put my dog outside the room because he's going to start growling at me. There we go. Well, it just occurred to me during that visual only video that these videos aren't probably doing a whole lot for our audio only users. So this is a reminder that that a recording of tonight's session will be uploaded to the Conservancy's YouTube channel. And I will also provide Bill with a link to the PowerPoint presentation that he can share with everyone, and then you can watch it again at your own leisure or click on any of the videos or links that are included. So now we come to why we're all here. Why are these projects here? Why are we asking you to join them? The projects were created to catalog the biodiversity of the individual state parks. It's through the use and promotion of the projects that we hope to create community awareness of local biodiversity and to promote the exploration and conservation of the natural environment. Projects allow for the easy collection of data for each of the projects that can be searched in any number of ways, allowing us, for example, to find the wildflowers that were observed in a particular time period in a particular place. Projects are also a useful outreach and promotional tool. They can be promoted, people asked to join, and perhaps even mini blitzes where we invite people to come out during a specific date and make as many observations as they can. It also, I don't have it here, but when people join a project, they feel like they belong to it and they're more likely to want to participate and assist in the collection of the data as well. There's also a journal feature as part of the projects that allow project administrators to communicate with those who've joined the project. And much like social media, you know, like in your Facebook page where you get notifications, people that have joined a project would get a notification that there was news to read. And it's through the use and promotion of projects that we hope to create community awareness of local biodiversity and promote the exploration of the natural environment. Projects that we have up and running so far are Caesars Creek, Cowan Lake, East Fork, Fort Ancient, and Little Miami State Parks. And although it's not a state park, we have the Little Miami Conservancy. So just by searching in projects, which you'll find exploring iNaturalist on your computer, you can search within projects and you can search out any or all of these projects that interest you. And I invite you to join them all, but invite and join any that interest you. So at this time, I would like to invite you all to ask any questions that we need to address at this time. This concludes the formal presentation. Everyone here tonight will receive an invitation to the next session of the workshop. Over the next few days, please experiment with iNaturalist on both your phone and the computer. It's a completely different experience using it on both forms, and you get the full educational experience of the platform as well. Come back in a couple of days with your questions and we'll go through everything during the interactive question and answer session, and we'll work through everything together in real time. But in the meantime, if there are any questions you have that need to be answered before we meet again, say you're having trouble even getting started, or you can't come to the next session, please feel free to send me an email with your question and I'll get back with you as soon as I can. And I have my email up here on the screen, maryspillman@gmail.com. So